And your answer to the million-dollar question was you'd rather hit the iron into the swimming pool. Now, just so that we're clear, I'm not talking about an enormous Las Vegas-sized swimming pool. I'm talking about your average run-of-the-mill backyard swimming pool, because that backyard swimming pool is about the same size as your average target if you're hitting into a green. Now, just because you chose the iron doesn't mean that you're terrible with the driver. It just means that you have a swing that is geared more towards the tendencies of an ideal iron swing. Well, you're not alone. Let me give you an example of another great golfer who has an iron swing. His name is Phil Mickelson. In fact, he has such an iron-based swing that for this year, he pretty much took driver out of the bag and used a specially designed 3-wood at most of the majors. So if you pay attention to the end of the video, I'm going to give you some strategies and some drills on how to adjust your natural iron swing for the driver. And if you practice and do these drills, you can expect to gain 10, 20, maybe even 50 yards off the tee by understanding the key difference between your natural iron swing and the ideal driver swing. So why is it essential to understand the difference between the iron and the driver swing? And more importantly, what is the difference between the iron and the driver swing? That's what we're going to cover in this section of the video. So you can see that I've got a couple golf balls set up here. And the purpose is I want to get away from this thought that there's just one swing, right? You might have figured out by my little quiz that there's different ideals. I want you to think of, I have a variety of different tools. And these tools fit within a spectrum of movement, not just one swing. So if I take a driver and get set up, we're now going to pay attention to one key piece of information, which is when I go to impact, where is my upper body? And you can see that my upper body, if you were to look off my shirt buttons, would be half a foot behind the golf ball, something like that. Well, now I've got this other golf ball on the ground, and if I were to set up to it to hit an iron and then go to impact and hang a thing off my shirt buttons, you would see that this would be roughly an inch or so in front of the golf ball. So because in one of them, my shirt buttons are behind the golf ball and the other one, my shirt buttons are on top of or slightly in front, this is going to give me the difference between hitting down with an iron versus hitting up with a driver. So understanding that as an iron swinger, you tend to err more towards having your shirt buttons on top of your zipper. Okay, we're going to use this reference a little bit throughout this video, and the technical term for it is axis tilt. Because if I had this club representing my spine, we've got shirt buttons right on top of zipper. When I turn, I'm going to turn on a level axis. If my shirt buttons get behind my zipper, now I've got this kind of secondary tilt, and when I turn, it's on this angle like so. The best drivers of the golf ball tend to create a fairly large axis tilt, and the better iron players tend to have a very small axis tilt. So we're going to get into the drill section, and we're going to go over how we can learn to adjust for it. But it's important to understand what this miss pattern is going to be if you tend to have very little axis tilt. You're going to tend to have a steep angle of attack. So if we bring up the driver, we know that that's going to be a little bit of an issue because the driver has very little loft on it. So a steep angle of attack, or if my shirt buttons are on top of the golf ball, are going to lead us to a couple different miss patterns. First, I'm typically going to start and launch the ball very low with a lot of spin. This saps distance and typically can cause either the low pull hook or a low fade. Most golfers that I work with who have this iron pattern swing but are pretty good golfers hit a low fade off the tee. If you're a high handicapper, it makes you predisposed to one of the more annoying misses, which would be a pop-up, which is when the angle of attack is actually so steep that you get the top of the golf ball or the top of the golf club underneath the bottom of the golf ball, and it ends up hitting it right off the top of the club or off the crown and popping it straight up in the air. So pay attention as we go through the drills, because we'll show you how we should learn how to create some of this axis tilt and what other adjustments we need to make with the driver. All right, this first drill is called the Jackson 5 drill. And the issue that it's going to help you understand and teach you how to correct is how to create disassociation of the lateral movement of your lower body from your upper body. So basically what happens when you don't create a lot of axis tilt is when you shift your weight into your front foot, either your upper body goes with it, so you don't create any axis tilt, or you just never create that lateral movement and they're both on top of each other as you swing down. Neither of those creates the proper angle of attack for a driver, and so it gives you lots of contact issues. So the drill is to learn how to get this lower body to move forward while your upper body stays back. So what you're going to do, I'm just going to put this in the ground for the second half of the drill, but what you're going to do is you're going to take the club and place it across your hips and take your thumbs and place them on the outside of your hip bones. Now most of you are going to want to touch up here, which is your pelvis. Make sure they're down here, which is where the actual outside of your hip bones are. So now, from here, keeping your upper body in the middle of your stance, you're going to shift your hips laterally towards your lead foot. So if you're a right-handed golfer, like I am, you're going to go into your left foot like so. So you're going to go from center to left, just like so. This is the Jackson 5. Now, what you can do is if we imagine that this was the corner of a wall, you can set up so that your head is just outside that wall, and then you can try and create as much lateral movement as you can while your upper body stays back. You want to get used to looking at how the golf ball will look different, because now your head and your eyes are going to be much further behind the golf ball. Okay, so once you feel comfortable doing that, then keeping your hands across your hips, you can make a backswing and then do the Jackson 5. Now, the fun little story of how this move got the name the Jackson 5 is when I was back in Maryland, I was working with a student who was actually a dance instructor. And I used to have him try to get as much of this axis tilt as he could, and I'd have him actually push that right hand down while he was doing this Jackson 5 move. Didn't have a name at the time. So we called it kind of the hip bump, and I had him going like this. Well, as a dance instructor, he thought back to the 70s and how the Jackson 5 and the background dancers, right, they would be doing a whole lot of this stuff, and then they would do this little electric slide type move. Well, that movement of pushing through the ground while the upper body stayed back resonated with him, and he was able to figure it out and pick up some distance really quickly. So I attributed it to him and gave it the name the Jackson 5. If you practice it, and if you really have this iron swing, learning this movement will help get the path much more shallow, which could give you as many as 40, 50 yards off the tee. Your second drill is the motorcycle or screwdriver drill. Now, this is designed to show you how to square the club face using just a rotation around the club or using just your hands. You see, most people who create very little axis tilt and who are good with irons tend to release the club or tend to square the club face using a movement of the entire body. I'm going to show you how to just use the hands and why it's going to be important when you're practicing the Jackson 5 drill. So if you don't do this move and you're doing the Jackson 5 drill, what will happen is the club face will come in wide open like so, because now you're behind the golf ball and a little bit more closed. With that path coming in from the outside with your old release pattern, you're going to hit these big blocks out of bounds over to the right. And that's not going to work even if they're going a little bit further because of the Jackson 5 move. So what you need to do is while you're doing this little Jackson 5 hip bump in transition, which gets your arms to swing more out in front and out to the right, you actually need to create a closing of the club face just using your hands. So if I had it like so at the top of the swing, I'm going to just rotate my hands like so, as if I was taking a motorcycle, right? And I was giving it gas with the left hand in reverse. For those of you that never have ridden a motorcycle like myself, you're actually just going to imagine you're using a screwdriver with that left hand like so. And you can see what that does to the club face, so that now that it's square, as I do this Jackson 5 move, that club face is coming in square. The combination of those two are the big difference between what's happening with a great driver swing and a great iron swing, and by practicing them together, you have the potential to gain incredible distances off the tee. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I encourage you to try these drills because I know how big of an impact they can have on your game. That's the good news. Unfortunately, here's the bad news. Golf is a cyclical event, as in you're going to have times when you improve and you're going to have times when you're struggling with your game. It happens to everyone. Take the best in the world. Look at Tiger Woods. Over the last 10 years, he's changed his swing 3 times, worked with different coaches, and Tiger's got a roadmap to go back to. When he loses his game, he can go to his coach, talk to him, and they figure out what they need to work on to get it back. Most amateurs are lacking in that roadmap. And so what happens when they lose their swing is they can lose it for a week, a month, or an entire season. Maybe you've had that happen. I don't want that to happen to you, and that's why we've created Golf Smart Academy. Golf Smart Academy is your roadmap of what to do on how to learn the key movements and positions in the golf swing and where to go when you get lost to find the answers. So let me give you a few reasons why you should join today. Golf Smart Academy is like having your own personal golf coach. When you go to have a golf lesson, the first thing an instructor is going to do is he's going to ask you some questions about your game and figure out what your major issues are. When you know what that is, he's going to design a plan for you to follow. The first reason you should join Golf Smart Academy is that we already have programs in place. Whether you're struggling with a slice, lack of distance, or trying to get out of a bunker, we have programs that you can follow to learn all the key pieces to each of those issues. So the second reason you should join is because of our feedback. See, when you're taking golf lessons, you're going to be able to interact with the coach and ask questions and get feedback. Well, our site is no different. When you are trying these drills or following these programs, you're able to ask questions or even submit a video of yourself swinging the club or doing a drill. Our instructors will then watch the video and send you a video response telling you exactly what you're doing well and what you could do better. And third, although we offer all the benefits of working with a golf instructor, let me give you one major reason why we're different: the cost. You see, if you were to take a golf lesson, it's going to run you anywhere from $80 to $200 per hour depending on the quality of the instructor. Golf Smart Academy is a fraction of that cost. And when was the last time a golf coach offered you a money-back guarantee? So if you're frustrated with your golf game and you're tired of endless lessons that just don't get you the results you want, come join Golf Smart Academy today. What do you have to lose except for a few golf balls? Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you on the inside.